Hello, this is Eileen, the Environmental Educator. And in this video, we're going to talk about something that, had we utilized hemp a long time ago, like the environmental educator, me, has been trying to get, into application and get all environmental voices to get on board and get used in everything. We might not have the situation that made a lot of news this week. It was covered by a lot of places, but yeah, because humans consume about a credit card worth of microplastics each week. Here's the picture, as if you are just eating a credit card. If you do a search for this, it comes up with a lot of places covered it. CNN, USA Today, Panda, Reuters, the New York Post, ABC News up here. It was covered widely, this news, but the World Economic Forum, the Guardian, Newcastle. That's just page one. So this was really covered. We're just going to go through a couple of these articles. They're a little different in each one of them, but according to researchers at the Medical University of Vienna, the micro and nanoplastics um, absorbed by food sources, water, and the air we breathe could act as vectors to transport toxic substances throughout the body, which could damage the digestive tract, have carcinogenic, uh, cancer causing consequences, and lead to an array of potential adverse health effects. You know, everything is plastic. These articles state that your plastic water bottles, drinking water. Everybody drinks bottled water, right? Yeah, not a good idea. How about, it doesn't say it in the articles, but how about, heating up food in plastic containers in a microwave? People laugh at me. I don't even own a microwave, and they're like, especially when I owned my place in Big Sky, people were like, microwave costs like $100. I'm like, it's not the $100. Like, I don't want a microwave. I don't see any value to them, and they, in my opinion, can do a lot of damage. Like, if you read things about people and when they heat food up in plastic, it's just the toxins and the chemicals that then you're just sitting there eating while you think you're eating healthy because you're heating up something healthy. It's not. It says experimental studies indicate that ingesting micro nanoparticles, plastics, passing through the gastrointestinal tract lead to changes in the composition of the gut microbiome, biome. Um, and they've noted that such changes are associated with the development of metabolic diseases such as diabetes, obesity, and chronic liver disease. Yeah, that's the scientists noted numerous ways the plastics enter the body, either directly through the food chain or indirectly via the ingestion or inhaled and regurgitated particles. It says cloth fibers such as polyester, for example, end up in wastewater after being machine washed. And those particles then re-enter the food chain after being ingested by marine life or through sea salt or drinking water. So, recent studies have indicated the presence of microplastics in some terrestrial food items such as edible fruits and vegetables and store-bought rice. That's it's pretty scary out there. Plastics leaching from plastic water bottles are a major contributor to the incidental ingestion of MNEs, MNPs, which up here says that MNPs are micro and nanoplastics. So a micro nanoplastic. So where were we? Oh yeah, the ingestion of NMPs with plastics in PET, the pyloethylene, those bottles, the PET bottles that everybody drinks out of, is is not really very good for you. And this is just very interesting. A healthy gut is more likely to ward off health risks, but local changes in the gastrointestinal tract, such as those present in chronic diseases or even negative stress, could make them susceptible to the harmful effects of the micro nanoplastics. The study came as scientists announced they've identified microplastic particles in the bloodstreams of test subjects, warning the toxic substances can travel through the body and damage human cells and accumulate in organs and lead to death. So that's not good. Yeah, that's definitely not good. But that was InfoWars. Right here, this is natural news. This was covered by a lot of places. March 31st, 2022. Um, these articles do have some different news. Sometimes articles are just, they all just print the same article that one writer wrote, but these articles are all a little different. So it says people who drink the recommended 1.5 to 2 liters of water per day from plastic bottles apparently take in 90,000 plastic particles per year from just this one source. Drinking unfiltered tap water out of a glass adds another 40,000 plastic particles per year to that count. Because, yeah, your drinking water goes from city to city to city. That's why it all goes through, you have a water department, and they make the water that comes into the city safe for you to drink because, all the towns before you that had that water are doing their laundry like that polyester and everything else that gets put into wastewater that goes back out into the water source. So then your water department has to make that water healthy for you. But still, 40,000 plastic particles come through that every year, even if you're drinking water out of a glass. I have a friend. She won't drink from plastic, eat from plastic, and I mean, I always thought it was kind of a good idea, but this really drives it home. An examination of gut micro biome samples reveal that most people today are teeming with both micro and nanoplastic particles. This explains, at least in part, the massive rise in metabolic conditions such as diabetes, obesity, and chronic liver disease. So this has effect on us, people. And this is not good. Micro and nanoplastic particles are also linked to localized inflammation and immune responses in the body, meaning they also play a role in autoimmune disease. And it is widely understood that plastics such as bisphenol A, BPA, are linked to cancer. A healthy gut is more likely to ward off health risks, says Lucas Kenner, one of the co-authors of a new study on the subject that was published in the journal Exposure in Health. So we are just, putting plastics and toxins into everything. And then those eventually, even through the air you breathe, end up accumulating in your body. And right here it says there are many additional toxic substances found in plastic that people are consuming as well. Another study out of Denmark that was published earlier this year identified thousands of them, including everything from plasticizers, which make plastics more flexible, to insect repellent. We are just, a toxic and chemical society. Plastics and the other chemicals they contain are a silent killer because more often than not, people do not even realize they are consuming them. Unless the fluid contents of a bottle taste like plastic, like the Nalgene bottles, then the chemicals they contain are typically hidden and identifiable. It isn't until a person gets sick that it can potentially be traced back to plastics. And it says, depending on where a person lives or what he or she eats and drinks, the newer study found upwards of 5 grams per week of plastic ended up being consumed. Some of this gets excreted, but the rest ends up lining the intestinal tract or absorbing into the body. So we are just eating plastic. It says someone in Natural News wrote, all plastics are made of toxic chemicals. You know, the main ingredient in plastic is oil. And there's a lot of toxicity, with that. Thinking they won't leach into the water is straight ignorance and stupidity. And you know what can replace oil in plastics? Oh, that's right, hemp. All of this plastic that we're using, if we just got on the hemp revolution that's needed, we could really, really prevent this. But to date, the White House is out the other day just telling the electric cars, man, we're on the job. We're going to save the environment. No, they're not. They won't do any of this. They're not talking about ending our disposable society. They're not talking about hemp, and this is absolutely needed. Hemp is edible. If some hemp from all the food or the clothing, you wash hemp clothing and it gets out into the wastewater, and then it eventually, even comes through your tap water, it's not going to kill you. Okay, hemp can make pharmaceuticals. Okay, it's not going to kill you. And here's this is ABC News, but it talks about Australia, and again, it has a lot of the same information, and they really key in on plastic water bottles here. But the interesting thing about this article is that at the end of it, it says these findings must serve as a wake-up call to governments. Not only are plastics polluting our oceans and waterways and killing marine life, it's in all of us, and we can't escape consuming plastics. Global action is urgent and essential to tackling this crisis. And you know what that action is? Well, yeah, we have way too much plastics and hemp. Everything that is plastic can be made from hemp. And that is not a toxic chemical or substance. It's just every environmental voice since November of 93 has refused to get the world on this direction and on this needed change. Okay, that's headed by Vail, Gore, Redford, Sundance, the NRDC, and the United Nations, and followed by everybody right up to Greta Trudeau and Jacinda Ardern down in New Zealand today. Everybody. McKibben, Mr. BS, Bernie Sanders, Oasis Crazy, Barack, the President White House, the Clintons, you name it, Bobby Kennedy, who's so concerned about kids' health that he's out there yapping about vaccines, yet vaccines are number 14 on his own organization's list of, negative factors to children's health, and climate change, the environment is listed as number 3. But has Bobby Kennedy gotten on board any of this? Has Bobby Kennedy used his voice for hemp? No. No, no, and he won't until this is exposed. And yet, no news. And of course, as we know, Project Veritas, not even Project Veritas, will expose this, because regardless of if Project Veritas fraudulently says they don't have an agenda, they do. And the environment isn't part of it, because I can take down the entire environmental world and put an end to all of the ridiculousness and the mandates they're coming up with, and we can get actual sound, logical, needed, sensible solutions implemented. But it's not going to happen till they get exposed. So that's just some interesting headlines. Well, an interesting headline that was out last week. And if only people would allow solutions. So stay tuned, people, because I am the person with the solutions, and we need to get this information out there. Stay tuned.